Imagine waking up in a prison built for the world's most dangerous criminals. No phone call, no trial, no idea how you got there. And worst of all, you're not even supposed to be in the country. This is the reality for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man wrongly deported and thrown inside CECOT, the world's largest and deadliest mega prison, buried deep in El Salvador. But this isn't just a tragic deportation story. It's a window into a terrifying system, a prison built for mass punishment where tens of thousands vanish without trial and human rights barely exist. In today's video, we're exposing the horrifying truth about CECOT, how it was built, what's happening inside, the insane story they don't want you to hear, and why Americans should be terrified of what's going on in El Salvador right now. Stay tuned, because what I uncovered will seriously disturb you. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Lindsay Unfiltered. And today we're going to be talking about this El Salvadorian mega prison. It's been hitting the news in huge waves lately due to a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is a married man who was a legal resident in Maryland and was deported to this facility with no due process, no trial, just on the way to work, shipped out to one of the deadliest prisons in the world. Since we focus on conspiracy, scandal, and true crime on this channel, I think it's very important that we touch on this topic. I think it's very important that we all pay close attention to this topic, because in my opinion, this prison is a human rights violation. Meaning, if you look at the 8th Amendment, people shouldn't even be at this prison. But we'll get into that a little bit later. If you like content like this that revolves around scandal, conspiracy, true crime with a twist of humor, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the like button and share this video with your friends. Without further ado, let's talk about CECOT, El Salvador's human rights disaster. Now, before we talk about the facility itself, we want to know, how did CECOT get so much notoriety in 2025? It's due to a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a man that was deported to this prison by the current administration. There didn't seem to be any orders for him to be deported. It was an erroneous deportation, yet he was still sent there with some of the country's most terrifying criminals, and it has become a public outcry with American citizens. You have some citizens on the side that are saying, he's not a citizen, he wasn't born here, he needs to go back to El Salvador. And you have another subset of citizens that are saying, if he can be removed with no due process, no nothing, then what stops this administration from doing that to virtually anybody that they disagree with, don't like, or doesn't fit their agenda? So the political sphere has been in a huge battle behind Kilmar Abrego Garcia. One thing that I do know is that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was going to work. He was a working man. He was paying taxes. He had children. He had a family. It didn't seem as if he was some single guy out there just causing all this hell. He'd been in the country for years. So this deportation was done erroneously. And they also tell us, my bad, but he's not coming back. And that's just kind of screwed over. But that's not the core focus of this video. I really want to talk to you guys about the prison itself, the hellhole itself, okay? And for you guys who don't know much about the Constitution, I want to read a part of it to you. This comes from the United States Constitution. The 8th Amendment says, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Okay, so if you stole a piece of gum from the store, your bail cannot be $1 million, right? You can't have these excessive fines attached to crime and things of that nature, or bail. It also touches on an important point about cruel and unusual punishment. Now, your definition of cruel and unusual may be different from my definition of cruel and unusual. But if we look into CECOT, which we will do, I want you guys to tell me if anything about that is cruel and unusual. Talking about physically harming inmates, starving inmates, torturing inmates. Those types of things are unconstitutional. And I would like to believe that taking a man, a Maryland resident, and sending him to the biggest super prison in the world with no due process is a violation of the Eighth Amendment. And some people say, well, he wasn't born. It applies to him as a legal resident. We don't just disassociate and feel as if this person isn't a person, right? CECOT stands for Centro de Confinamiento del Terrorismo, or in English, the Terrorism Confinement Center. It was built by El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele and officially opened its gates in February 2023. So it's still fairly new. This facility is no ordinary prison. It is the largest in the Americas, designed to hold up to 40,000 people, a scale unheard of in the Western Hemisphere. The complex is located in a remote area of Tecoluca, surrounded by miles of fencing, watchtowers, and military patrol. Its purpose? Mass incarceration during what Bukele called a war on gangs. Now here's the context. In March 2022, Bukele declared a state of exception following a spike in gang-related homicides. This emergency order suspended key constitutional rights, including freedom of assembly, legal counsel, and the presumption of innocence. Under that state, over 75,000 people have been arrested without trial or formal charges. CECOT was built to house the overflow. The imagery inside is chilling. Inmates are forced to move in lines, bent over, heads down, hands cuffed behind their backs. They're housed in massive concrete cells with no beds, no windows, and 24/7 surveillance. Many are tattooed, accused gang members, but the truth is, not all of them are. According to human rights organizations, thousands of innocent civilians, teenagers, workers, students have been swept up in mass arrest simply for living in the wrong neighborhood or having the wrong haircut. Now think about that. Just because you look like someone who they're looking for, you're rounded up and you're put into one of the worst prisons in the world just because you look like they do. So what's the difference between what happened with Kilmar and what happened with, I'm sure, a handful of people that are being incarcerated at CECOT? We have to think about this, guys. Not everybody there is guilty of a crime, and that in itself is a huge disgrace. And the fact that they were given no trial, no lawyer, nothing, it just lets you do what you want, how you want, and when you want. I don't think that's fair. International watchdogs like Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and even the United Nations have sounded the alarm. They've called the arrests arbitrary, the detentions unlawful, and the prison itself a symbol of authoritarianism disguised as order. But here's what's even more disturbing. Bukele is proud of it. He's turned CECOT into a piece of viral propaganda. His government regularly posts high production videos showing inmates in humiliating, dehumanizing conditions, stripped, shaven, and paraded like trophies. These clips are blasted across TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube to boost Bukele's image as a tough on crime strongman. In one video, you'll see thousands of shirtless men chained together, crouched shoulder to shoulder, surrounded by armed guards, all while fast-paced music plays underneath like it's an action movie trailer. It's propaganda, but it works. Bukele's approval rating in El Salvador remains sky high. He's seen as the man who fixed the gang problem. But at what cost did he fix the gang problem? Due process? Basic human rights? International law? CECOT isn't just a prison. It's a message, and it's one that the world should be paying attention to. What really happens inside El Salvador's mega prison? The government wants you to believe it's clean, controlled, and justice is being served. But survivors and leaked accounts tell a very different story. Inside CECOT, inmates are allegedly living in constant psychological warfare. There are no windows, lights stay on for 24 hours a day, food is scarce. There are reports of starvation diets, and if you speak out, you're beaten. One anonymous ex-guard who spoke to international reporters described the inside as, quote, a factory of silence. He claimed inmates were regularly tortured for minor infractions. That includes being stripped naked and forced to kneel for hours, or dragged into isolation cells for days without food. He even alleged that some prisoners had their hands broken by guards as punishment for communicating between cells. Some families never hear from their loved ones again. Why? Because CECOT is cut off from all outside access. There are no visitation rights, no legal representation, and no court hearings. People go in and simply vanish. Even with 24/7 surveillance, there are claims that gang leaders are still running operations from inside CECOT. Phone calls, money laundering, extortion, reportedly organized through corrupt guards or hidden channels. The prison was supposed to dismantle gangs, but some experts say it just restructured them behind bars. And while all of this is allegedly happening behind the scenes, President Bukele is out front staging pristine media tours of CECOT. He posts glossy drone shots, empty clean cells, and well-lit control rooms, all meant to tell the world, look at our progress. But what the world isn't seeing are the thousands of detainees crammed into concrete rooms, denied medical care, stripped of their rights, and in some cases, their lives. NGOs have compared the conditions in that prison to torture sites. Even the UN has called for investigations. But inside of El Salvador, Bukele's image is stronger than ever because fear and silence keep the system running. And now with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an innocent, legal resident of the United States caught in the crosshairs, the nightmare that has been hidden inside CECOT is finally forcing its way into the global spotlight. There was this woman's video, and she zoomed in on Google Earth. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory or if it holds true. But she went to CECOT and zoomed in on Google Earth, and it looked like there was a ton of substance and people's unalive bodies in CECOT. I'll insert that clip here, and you guys can tell me what you think. Since then, people have said they weren't able to pull up that location.
I just saw this video showing satellite images of the prison in El Salvador that ICE is sending all of those people to. And they zoomed in into this little corner, and you can see what looks like a pile of bodies and a whole lot of blood. So tell me what you guys think that looks like to you.
We know what CECOT is now. We know how they treat their prisoners now. But Americans have been added to the chat. Why should Americans be alarmed about this? Americans should be alarmed about this because, in my opinion, CECOT is a huge human rights violation. And when someone from the United States can be expelled to El Salvador, to this prison, with no due process, no questions asked, who's to say it won't happen again, right? Who's to say it won't happen again to any of us for any reason? They could think that we were born in El Salvador, but we really weren't. We were born in Texas. And it can happen to you. It happened to him. The government agreed that it was an error. So can you make errors like that with any person in the United States? It's not just about Kilmar Abrego Garcia or protecting Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It's protecting the fabric. It's protecting the fabric of democracy. And that's what a lot of people don't get. They think that you're trying to protect an individual. You're trying to protect a democracy, a flag, a system that used to stand for something. And it lets us see in real time how authoritarian systems are when they're unchecked. I feel as if the president could do the same thing Bukele was doing. He would, in defiance of the 8th Amendment. He would not care. That's my opinion, though. You guys tell me what you guys think about this. I know there's people on the right of the issue, people on the left of the issue. All opinions are welcome. I have a pretty good conversation going on my TikTok about this. All conversations are welcome. But in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Supreme Court said facilitate his return. If you can disobey the highest court of the land, we have no democracy, in my humble opinion. But people can think different things. I encourage healthy debate on the topic, okay, guys? Now, this video was a little bit more political than most of my videos, but it still does deal with scandal, conspiracy, and true crime. All of these things occur in one basket. Okay, guys, I'm a politics buff, so this issue really hit home for me, and I wanted to bring it to the channel and get other people's opinions on the topic. We'll be finishing the A through Z scandal series soon, and I also want you guys to tell me what cults you want me to cover on the Behind the Cult series. I've had a really good time explaining and giving my opinion on this matter. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. It's been Lindsay Unfiltered. Bye now.